Hello, hello, hello. It is Monday. Man, it is. And is it a Monday? Wow, it really is a Monday. Donna will be here in a second. She is struggling to get in. So as soon as I see her pop in, she will be here. Apologies, but it's technology and it is what it is. I'm gonna real quickly go to ooh, excuse me, go to Rumble and make sure that we're live on Rumble. Um, I don't wanna watch that one, I wanna see the one that's actually new. Hmm. Okay, I just love how sometimes it's, funky how it works. So, I got that on, let me make sure I don't have sound because I hate it when I end up with sound coming across on my screen. So, I've got that, and I'm kinda keeping an eye out for Donna to be messaging me because she's trying to get this to work, um, and just there was a lot of going on that made it difficult to actually, do a pre-test on our show for, Donna to be here. So she will be here shortly. We'll just keep an eye out for her. And in the meantime, I'm gonna just say this is, one of the coolest things to celebrate when we have success for anyone, especially our beloved family or friends. When we have someone who has struggled or is struggling and, they have worked so hard to change and get out of, the destruction that they were doing to themselves, to be honest with you. Uh and when somebody has put themselves into a position, and I mean there is something to be said about a lot of people I hear out there, and I'm gonna just ramble a little bit while I'm waiting for her to come on, but I have watched and I have seen people who talk about people that are on that are doing any kind of an addiction, that it's a choice, and because of that, they have made a decision to, um I'm not sure. I see Donna there, but no camera. So I'm waiting to see if a camera comes into focus here. If it does, then we'll add her to the scene with me. Currently, there's no sound and no camera. Um, so let me send that to her real quick. Um, Sorry about that, real quick. She's here, but it says no camera, no sound. So we'll be working on that while I'm talking. So I've heard people actually say that, it's a choice that people choose to. I think people do choose to drink when the drinking starts. However, quite often, I think when it gets to a point where it becomes an addiction, they didn't even know they already were an addict. That's my personal feeling. And then when it becomes an issue where family and friends are trying to get you to stop drinking, um, I think sometimes then we end up with people that just are very insecure. They don't think that they have a problem, um, and it's sad, but it's a factor. It is definitely a factor. Um and it's shame. It's a shame, absolute shame, when they can't recognize that they have a problem, and, I I know there's familial aspects of it too, when you have someone who is an addict that was your family, direct family, and you grew up that way, where drinking is just a part of the thing, um, and you have people who choose drinking because of something else that has happened to them, and I don't know that I don't know that anyone ever chooses to become an addict. That's the part that's that's the part that is, hard to understand because I don't think anybody ever, like, just chooses to be an addict. Um, I don't buy into that, so when people say, "Well, they chose to do that," I don't think anybody chooses to be an addict, especially when you see I mean, I'm one of those that I used to say all the time, "I don't know how anyone would take this stuff that, um, like meth, um, all the ingredients will kill you, so um, why in the world would you ever take that? Because everything in there will okay, speaker connected. Well, can you hear me? Okay. I can hear you, but I can't see you. Yeah, there's no camera. Are you on your phone? Um, well, if you can't get it's okay. It's sometimes it's part of the process. Um, they can't hear you. They can only hear me. Um, uh, you shouldn't have to load Chrome onto your phone. You should just be able to Oh, and it's having to load something? Oh, mm, that's strange on your phone. Oh, that's weird. Okay. Well, you can hear me and they can hear you. I think they can hear you. Um, no, just stay like right you are, and then we'll try to work on the camera as we go. Okay? And I mean, everyone can hear you. So once we can finally get your actual thing up there, then we'll have that up there. So, oh, right. Well, I know both of us tried to plan to do this in advance and we just didn't get to it. Eh, okay. 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 Sounds good. All right. She'll be back. Um, well, it's one of those things with technology. We have to play the game with technology and we have to be patient and understanding. And it is what it is. So nobody get all upset or stressed out. She'll be here as soon as she can get it to work. And she's kind of out in the middle of nowhere land, so, she in California, so she doesn't have the best of best services where she lives, so, um, it is what it is, um, so, it's At some point, we all have to realize technology is great when it works, and then sometimes it's so anyway, I'm going to pull up some of the stuff, hopefully she can hear on there, and hopefully she'll be here in a second, and we can talk about it. Um, and I'll probably bring up a couple of these other things, um, when she's here. I have a couple Dear Margarets that I pulled out to relate to this actual, topic so that we could actually discuss it with Donna, but since Donna's not here, I'm gonna take these, Dear Margarets myself, and we'll see. What I hate is I had to move this thing so that I could see it better, but it makes it very difficult for my mic because my mic doesn't quite reach. I'm gonna have to probably move the mic. If my tech guy is here, he'll come down and move my mic for me. Um, anyway, let's get started with this Dear Margaret. Dear Margaret, I'm 142 days sober, and most days I'm proud, but lately I've been feeling this quiet, nagging loneliness that's starting to feel louder. I'm not tempted to drink yet, but I keep wondering if I'll ever feel normal again. Did you ever have days where sobriety felt like a punishment instead of a gift? How do you get through those days? Not yet sober. I guess they're sober, but they don't completely feel like they're sober. I'm not sure. Oh, there she is. I see her. Okay, let me get to that screen. Hello,
Been
you are here.
Hi.
Hi. All right. Awesome. 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 I'm glad you're here. So,
Yeah, sorry for the technical difficulties. It was my error.
well,
I saw what I did.
sometimes technology is great when it works. It's great when it doesn't. It kind of sucks, but that's what it is. um, so anyway, thank you for coming.
Oh,
I'm
thank you
glad to
for
have you
having me.
here. Um, so
Thank you
today
for
we're honored
having
to
me here.
welcome a truly inspiring woman to the Gurl TauX show. She's a warrior, a survivor, a testament to the power of resilience, transformation, and grace. My dear friend Donna. And can we both get
Aw.
through this without crying? My
She's
dear friend
right.
Donna is
She's
here
real
to
good.
celebrate an extraordinary milestone, 1,000 days of sobriety.
Yeah, 1,000 days being alcohol free, and when I say alcohol free, I'm also talking about I continue to try to utilize the products that I have that have no alcohol. Um, I, I'm a shampoo whore, so I have tons of shampoos. So I give myself a pass on that one. But my deodorant is alcohol free. I do wear perfume, but if anything has alcohol in it,
You
I
try to
don't
stay
use
away
hand
from it.
sanitizer. I
That's
do not
very
like
good.
hand sanitizer.
That's very good.
Yeah,
Well,
and
so
it's not because it's triggering. I just don't want it in my body.
right, right.
Plain and simple.
Well, because we all have to realize, our bodies store some of that stuff, and a lot of people don't even realize that those things can seep into your body and have an effect,
Yeah.
especially if you have an addiction to something like that. So, I'm going to do a real quick recap. Her journey wasn't
Okay.
easy after facing 4 DUIs, losing everything and hitting rock bottom. Donna made the courageous choice to turn her life around. She rebuilt herself from the ground up, proving that it's never too late to change, to heal, to reclaim your future. And the world took notice. A kind and fair judge. This part makes me tear up. But a kind and fair judge recognized her hard work and commitment, granting her early release from probation. She actually had 5 years that she was given on her probation, and she moved to a different or she was assigned to a different county, which their requirement's 3 years, and she has just a little over 2.5, right? Or right at 2.5?
2.5. Well, it'll be 3 in June.
It'll be 3 in June.
So less than half.
So less than 2.5, but almost 2.5 years ahead of schedule without even being asked. She also reduced her felonies to misdemeanors. This moment is proof that when you do
Wait,
the work.
no, wait, hold on. I must interrupt. It's felony. I don't have more than one. You
Well,
said felonies to misdemeanors.
correct. It's just a felony, but still, she reduced it down to a misdemeanor, and, this is a true testament that when you do the work, you can truly change your life, and the rewards are something that you can tangibly feel and see and enjoy, because what is
Mhm.
freedom if we can't do things, you know? I think that's a very important today. So anyway, today, Donna, we
Mhm.
celebrate your strength and your journey and the light you shine for others who may still be struggling. Welcome to Gurl TauX. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. And thank you. I'm so happy to be back.
Well, I'm so glad you're here. So I have some questions for you, and I want to let you take the stage for a minute and take us back to day one of your sobriety. What was the moment like for you? What was the specific turning point where you knew it this time it had to be different?
The easiest way that I can explain it, and it sounds so cliche, it's the light bulb. The light bulb went off because I was in that pattern of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting to get different results. And what I was doing wasn't working. So I literally had to rewire my brain into figuring out I can't I can't do this. I have to stop. And I stopped cold turkey. And aside from that, the legal problems that I have, everything, all the effort that I have put in to make my changes were done on my own. Nothing was court ordered. I put myself through an intense outpatient rehabilitation program, volunteered. Um, I, I just, I have that discipline and determination. When I want something bad enough, I'll do whatever it takes. And unfortunately, all the years that I had been drinking clouded that judgment and clouded that motivation. And it still amazes me how I'm able to process uh, difficult situations so much easier
Right,
because
right,
I'm taking care of it, rather than sweeping it under the rug.
right.
And I think it all comes back on me with all of these blessings that I've received and opportunities and chances,
Yeah,
relationships. I
for
mean,
sure.
I a lot has changed. I've changed, and
Well, that leads me to my next question. When you look at the person
mhm,
you were then versus the person sitting here today, what do you see?
as more time goes by, that person is almost unrecognizable.
So if you could go back and tell her anything, what would you say? That's a hard
Well,
question, I
for
see
one,
that.
it is hard because to get where I am today, I had to go through what I went through then. I
Right,
like
and
who
I would
I
think
have
that most of
become.
the things that you would go back and tell her, your family tried to
I
tell
don't
her.
know. Yeah, I think I would have different results because I did this on my own. Even though having support of a partner is great, I did the work. So I value my time. I value my effort, and I also accept the responsibility whether I succeed or fail.
Right.
I
Well, in that
I'm gonna have to
process.
think about that. That's a very good question.
It is because, you know,
And
part of me thinks that,
yeah.
like, any answer that you could have would pretty much be all the things that people tried to tell her themselves, like your family, your everyone probably tried to say what you would go back and tell her. But unless you could go back in true form, like today's Donna, and go back and actually face to face with Donna, which, you know, like Back to the Future style, and say, you know, "This is me in the future. This is, you know, you're gonna have to
I
go
wish
through
we
this."
all had that. I wish we all had that magic ball
Yeah.
to see what is ahead of us.
It would it would be
Unfortunately,
nice
we
in
don't.
some yeah, it would be nice in some ways, but some ways I think, you know, a lot of us, um, a lot of the struggles we've all been through, I don't know that I've seen those posts on Facebook and stuff that say, "Red door, blue door," you know, pick one.
Mhm.
Red door, you get to go back and you can change, you know everything that's happened, but you can go back and start over and change your past. Blue door, you get $10,000,000 or something. I take the blue door. I'll take the money to give a better life now because I would not go back and change any of the things that I did, even the hard things I did, because it's gotten me to where I am today. It's made me the strong person I am today. And I wouldn't go back and get rid of my children for any of the pain I would have taken away from myself. I feel that that would be a very selfish response. So for that reason, I would take the money now and I wouldn't go back and change any of the pain that I went through. I mean, I would love to change the pain any of my children went through, but in order for me to
Right.
become who I am,
I would take the money because now I have the knowledge of how to better manage it as well as
right?
the other decisions. You know, I would. I probably would do
Well,
that
when the
too.
bad decisions start, you're probably not going to listen to anybody, including yourself.
We
So
all
then you'd make all the
self-sabotage.
same mistakes and you'd be broke.
Yeah. Well, everybody has a tendency to self-sabotage.
Exactly,
You know,
exactly.
I was just doing it in a 10 times denominated multi 10 to the square route more.
Right,
I,
exactly.
I definitely
Well, I
self-sabotage.
know in the process of what you went through, you lost everything, your freedom. You didn't do a ton of jail time, right? How long did you have to go to jail?
4 months.
4 months, okay.
I actually, yeah, yeah. But
So
I wasn't sentenced to jail. I actually had a suspended sentence, but something else had happened within my house that violated that suspended sentence. And so I ended up having to do the 4 months.
okay.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, uh, yeah, but that was 6 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, long time ago. You
Mhm.
lost your stability, and you lost much more than that. You lost your job, your
No, I didn't lose my job.
well, your career, I mean,
Mm-mm.
that you were working towards in law enforcement.
Oh, yeah, yeah. A little background. I was a crime prevention commissioner with the police department in the city I live in, and the first DUI that I received um, with my daughter, um, I had to resign.
Yeah. So those things are difficult, but you rebuilt, and what was the hardest part of starting over, and what keeps you going?
The hardest part of starting over is that I invested 28 years of my life with the man that I thought I was going to be with forever.
And we lost Donna. Oh, I think she's coming back. Are you there?
Are you there?
Yeah, I we lost you
I'm
for a
here.
second. We lost you for a second.
Okay.
All we heard was, that you were with for 28 years.
Yeah. So the man, gentleman, partner, boyfriend, significant other, the person that I had spent 20, half of my life with was no longer by my side. So any decision making, at least I had someone that I was always able to talk to.
Right.
Um, I second guess everything that I do, everything that I do. So having him by my side was always encouraging because he was very supportive. Um,
And
but
then suddenly there you are faced without him,
yeah,
and the
I've
person
always
that you're
I've
faced.
always been a mom. I've always been a provider, and now I'm out here in the wild alone with no clothes on, wondering, okay, what am I build shelter? What do I do? Do I do this first? I'm used to having another person. A second set of eyes is always better,
Right,
and
right,
and so that was the hardest part, and I didn't know where my future was. I was removed from the home. I was never allowed to go back. I was never allowed to retain my things. I was given one bag of clothes in the month of December, and that bag of clothes had tank tops and shorts. Um,
oh, wow.
everything that I owned, everything that I owned in my 48 years of existence at that time was kept from me. I would have appreciated a message directly or from someone else that said, your things are going in the driveway. You have 24 hours to come pick them up. And if you don't want them, I'm going to throw it away. I didn't even get that opportunity. I had things that were passed down from family members, my birth certificates, my children's baby pictures. And the only thing that really kept me going is that my mom has always said to me, Donna, things can be replaced, people can't. And I had to keep telling myself that.
Yeah,
And I'm not going to lie, I will never speak bad about the father of my children. I mean, it's just the way that he handled this shows the character that he has.
right. Well, I mean, I can imagine he was struggling also with the anger, because I think at that point he was just driven by the anger rather than empathy or care or concern anymore.
Oh, probably so, because I've got stories of all of the incredible. He tried to save me, not once, twice, three, four, five. He tried, and
And I imagine
it,
his
it
feeling
didn't
like
work for him.
failing,
And
especially because we both know what it feels like to try to save someone and fail. Um, it turns to anger. It definitely turns to anger um, anger and guilt. I think a lot of people don't understand how much guilt drives your behavior or your responses. Guilt and, anger can drive those responses that you give, which I'm sure was a part of his response was guilt and
oh,
anger.
I'm sure he was tired of it, tired of going through it, and I don't blame him. But see, on the flip side of this, and I'm very optimistic, and I always try to see that silver lining. And for me, I mean, I can't be mad at the choices that were made for him. That's his story. That's the chapter of his life. That's what he needed to do to protect his peace. I get it.
And
For
I see
years.
it the same way. He could have had a little bit more compassion at the time, like even saving your stuff, putting it in storage or something,
Yeah, he
or
might even have some of it. I don't know. I did see him selling some things of mine on Facebook, but I don't know.
yeah,
I mean, at least I hope he didn't throw away baby pictures. They belong to the children.
right, right. And there comes a time though that have you it's hard to say, but have you forgiven him and yourself?
Oh, yeah. I have to. I can't hold a grudge because I understand that he needed to do what he needed to do. The way he did it, I don't agree. It could have been handled a lot more delicately.
Right.
But this is what I was trying to say a minute ago about being optimistic. And the way that I look at it is this: he and another couple of close friends of mine were fighting diligently on helping me. And a person doesn't want to get sober until they are ready to become sober on their own. And I don't mean without help, but until they realize that, this isn't working, and then accept that help. But if you are given help, you do it just to appease the people that are saying, you need
Right.
to do this, you need to go, you need to do that. And I did do that, but I didn't get anything out of it
Because you
other
weren't
than a
invested.
little bit of right, and a little bit of peace at home. So my silver lining to this whole thing is that he got exactly what he was fighting for. My friends that no longer speak to me, they got what they were fighting for. A
Right.
sober Donna.
Right.
So we both won.
Right.
So how
In
can
the
I be
end.
mad at him?
Right. You can't
I
really.
I, I can't. I can't. And
Now,
I
he doesn't speak to you, correct?
no.
Now, what were some of the
You-
biggest misconceptions that you had about addiction and recovery before you went through it yourself?
say that one more time?
What were some of the biggest misconceptions that you had about addiction and recovery before you went through it yourself?
I think that oftentimes people, when you talk about sobriety or an addiction, it's automatically assumed like what you see on TV on intervention.
Right.
And I'm going to say this, and I could have backlash, but I'm being honest. I don't think I was that bad. And yeah, that's probably not the right thing for me to say. I don't know how else to say it. But the reason I feel that I wasn't that bad is that my choice to drink impacted the decisions that I made, and I chose to drink and drive, which created a whole shitstorm of legal troubles that I no longer have. And so the misconception is that when I was being diagnosed by the people that were the closest to me, you have to go to detox. You have to. I wasn't that kind of an alcoholic.
Right.
It's just so the
Well, and I think there's
misconception
d
is
I
unless
think
you
there
go
is
through it, you really don't know. Hmm?
yeah, I think there's different levels, you're right. Um, some that are so consumed with it that they can't step away from it at all, and you can have the misguided feeling in some way that you weren't as bad as they thought you were, or that you weren't as bad as others, 'cause all different people with addiction have, I think, different levels of addiction, but it's still addiction, and some I mean, there's a reason why we have the terms like functioning alcoholic.
I think I would probably check that box. I think that's probably what I was because I didn't lose my job. Um, I was able to maintain, other than just starting to get sloppy with talking, uh, doing
But it was
things that I
affecting
would
but it
never have
was
been sober.
but it was affecting your decision-making process because after 1 DUI,
Yeah.
you still drove again. After 2 DUIs, you still drove again. After 3 DUIs, you still drove again, and then it took 4 DUIs before you really, really took that concept that, "Maybe I have a problem." And, but people have those problems, and that's what people don't understand too is addiction, we look at it only as alcohol or drugs. And there's addiction in so many different ways. There's people that have an addiction to the gym and working out too much. There's people that have an addiction
Mhm.
to gambling. There's people who have addiction to food. There's people who have addiction to drugs and alcohol, of course, but there are people that have addictions in so many different realms that addiction can touch people in so many different ways. And to label it just like one thing, it's only drugs or alcohol, because that's the main focus everybody looks at is drugs and alcohol because they can destroy your body so quickly. But at the same time, like sugar is just as addictive as heroin. I mean, that was just came out on a recent study that sugar is as addicted as heroin. So just heroin does it faster.
Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah, it's I in a lot of recovery programs, one of the questions that are often asked is, what was your drug of choice? And immediately I'm like, I don't do drugs. And the counselor was immediately correct. Well, alcohol is a drug. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I did alcohol. I didn't like that. I mean, everybody has a different
Well,
experience
a
and handles things different.
and I can see your visceral reaction to that because, it's putting labels on people. A addict, and most people, when you go addict, you think drugs. And sure, alcohol is a drug, but so is
Yeah.
sugar. Sugar's a drug. In a essence,
Mhm.
if you look at it the same way. And none of us wanna have those labels put on us as to, you know, that is who you are, because that is not who you are. It's what you
Right.
did, not who you are. And there's a difference, I think a huge difference. And people need to recognize that there's a difference between what you did and who you are, because there are 2 different things there.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I was actually just thinking about in the last couple of days is in the attempts of the father of my children, in his attempts of trying to help me, there were often times during my worst moments that he would record them. So he has video of me at my not so best. And I would, I, I wish I could see them.
I was gonna
You
say,
know,
would you like to see those, or does that make you
yes.
uncomfortable?
Oh, very much so. Very. I want to see. I want to see what he was looking at, what my daughter was looking at.
Right, because, it might change a little bit about how you feel about whether, it's easy for you to say, "I wasn't that bad," because you don't remember what, and you didn't see necessarily what they were seeing. You see what you.
Well, yeah, and I was aware of what he was doing, but I didn't care.
Right.
I
Most of the
didn't
time,
care.
they
We
don't.
had such a yeah. Well, our relationship had become so toxic.
Right.
I had become unhappy. He had become unhappy. I think I can't speak for him, but there were signs that we were going separate directions, obviously, and I but I did try to reach out to him once. I owe him a lot. My daughter a lot too. It was maybe a 3-minute phone call, if that. I wasn't able to say much to him because he was doing most of the talking, and what he was saying, I don't even. All I wanted to do was say I'm sorry, um, but the person that was on the other line was bitter, angry, mad, pissed off.
Yeah, all those negative
He was
emotions.
not receptive to that conversation, and I tried. I tried, and and I wasn't legally even allowed to do that. We have a 10-year no contact order,
Yeah. Well,
but it was worth it, so I could let him know that I took accountability and that I was sorry. It was worth it to take that risk to let him know.
right, right. Well, now you know that I do a Dear Margaret segment on the show. I'm going to break up the questions for you so that it's not so much focused on you. And I know one of your biggest things about your sobriety is that you want your sobriety to be that of a hand-holding support for others. And
Oh,
you want to give back to others. So I have been saving these. I get all my Dear Margarets sent to me, and I've been saving up a couple of them that had to do with excuse me, with sobriety for when you were on the show. So I'm going to read our Dear Margarets real quick, and then I would love it if you would join in. Mainly you answer these, but I'll give my 2 cents worth too, but mainly you answer
okay.
these. All right.
Okay.
So first one is staying sober but struggling. And it's Dear Margaret, I'm 42 days sober, and most days I'm proud, but lately I've been feeling this quiet, nagging loneliness that started to feel louder. I'm not tempted to drink yet, but I keep wondering if I'll ever feel normal again. Did you ever have days where sobriety felt like a punishment instead of a gift? And how did you get through those days? Signed, Struggling.
Oh, I think you struggling. That was a very, very detailed question, and congratulations on the the amount of days you have sober so far. Um, but sobriety, until you realize that life is better when you can make better decisions, cutting out alcohol will help that. Alcohol is a depressant. So you're going to feel like this for a very long time. And if you're sick and tired of feeling like that, then you've got to get up and make that change because what you're doing isn't working. If you want to be depressed, keep drinking. You
Right.
want to lose your life, keep drinking. You want to feel better, it's going to get worse before it gets better because when, in my experience, I have to deal with emotions. I can't go to another substance to help erase the pain that I was keeping inside. I have to self diagnose what that pain is. How do I fix it? And drinking alcohol, all you're doing is sprinkling um, carpet fresh on your carpet. You're not cleaning the carpet, you're just masking the smell. So when you take a drink out of that bottle, you're just masking that pain. You're not fixing it. You're not addressing the issue. And then you stop drinking, and then you have that moment where, okay, I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to do it. Today's going to be a good day. You know, but see, just like a food addiction, alcohol is used in celebratory times. So, hey, it's Friday, payday, 5 o'clock. Let's go have a drink.
Right.
If you have been drinking nightly and you know you need to quit, but you feel you need to have one more, you're not ready. You're not ready. You got to talk yourself out of it.
And
Find
that
something
one
to do.
and for most people in addiction, that one more doesn't stop at one more. That's part of the
Oh,
problem.
that one more could be yes, that one more could be the catapult
That one more is just the
to
one that leads to 10.
exactly. Oh, I have the light coming in my eyes, so it's
All
kind
right,
of
so the next question is from They don't put their names, of course, they're signed anonymously. Dear Margaret, my family keeps dropping hints or not so subtle comments that I need to stop drinking. I get it. I know I've had some rough moments, but it's not like I'm blacking out every night. I still have a job, a house, and I show up for my kids. Why can't people just let me handle it my way? Do I really need to stop completely? Signed, not ready to quit.
Not ready to quit. Well, I think you just really identified what the problem is that alcohol clouds your judgment. So how do you know what you're doing?
Right.
Your your friends and family love you enough to let you know that what they are seeing isn't normal.
It's not healthy, it's not good, yeah.
Correct. Correct.
And
So,
I'm gonna drop in here real quick as somebody who has not dealt with addiction myself, with myself, but I've watched it, and watching from the outside looking in, it's easy to sometimes feel like we have all the answers. Like, I know better than you. I know more than you. And I think sometimes part of the reason why, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think part of the reason why it doesn't necessarily hit with that person who is an addict or is having an addiction with whatever the substance is because quite often when we come at that person, it's not in necessarily the form of severe empathy and encouragement. It's more judging and it's more, I know better than you because I'm not an addict kind of attitude almost. Even when they're doing it with sympathy or they're feeling sorry for themselves because they're having to deal with you, but they don't come at the person with the addiction with the empathy that addict might need. They come at them more like the judge, jury, and executioner. And
true. Delicacy needs to be considered when addressing someone who does have a chemical dependency problem because they're going to be defensive no matter
mhm,
what. And we tried to do the intervention route when it came to our friend.
mhm.
Um, my ex tried to do the intervention route too. I don't know what happened to that. I just know that he tried. Um, I think sometimes when people are cornered and they're told to do something, it's not as effective
Well, they
as
kind of feel like a
at
wild
least.
animal in a cage. And
Yeah, you will say anything just to have it go away.
right, right.
It doesn't address the problem.
Well,
So,
and if you feel cornered like that, and you feel that the people around you are judging and they're putting their desires on you and making you feel a certain way instead of, I think there's different ways of handling it, and I think quite often the people that aren't the addict, I have learned a lot from being not such a silent observer, you know, being your friend, I can see different sides of it now, totally different. Um, and how the conversation needs to come up is, I think a lot of times the feeling part of it doesn't come into the conversation. It's a pointing fingers you situation. You need to stop drinking. You're drinking too much. I don't like when you're drinking. I don't like how you act when you're drinking. You, and pointing fingers where I think sometimes it might be more effective if it came across with the person that says, "Hey, I've been I've been noticing how I'm feeling lately, and you know, there's a way I think you can handle it without doing so much of the finger pointing and so much of the you, and possibly that could help. It doesn't mean it would actually go anywhere because we know until you're ready to see it yourself and you're ready to get the help, you're really not going to. But I think there is a
right. Well, think about the reason why and how. And actually, I need to recant that why part because my counselor says you will never know the why. But
Right.
what I think when it gets to the point of you're even questioning yourself, the first thing you can't, you don't know what to do. You can't recognize it because your judgment is clouded.
Mhm.
And in my opinion, anybody who becomes addicted to any kind of substance, they're doing it because they have some kind of trauma in their past,
Right.
whether any trauma. There's something that's down deep inside a person's psyche that when chemicals of euphoria, that dopamine kicks in and just changes and it makes a person feel different. Um, and if you have outside, or if a person, I shouldn't say you, if a person has outside members mentioning, hey, I kind of don't like it when you do this. Well, for one, again, defenses, and two, denial. I don't have a
Right.
problem. If you don't like my attitude, you got the problem.
Yeah. That sounds like a you
Um,
problem, not a me problem.
exactly.
I
And
know
that's going to
we
create
heard that
more.
one a number of times with Kristen. It's a you problem, not a
Yeah.
me problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first step, I mean, trust me, I I was never a drinker. I was a social drinker during high school, big deal. But through adulthood, I was not a drinker. So this came up on me all of a sudden, but it over time it progressed. But I mean, I decided when I took that first drink, I didn't realize it, but I was diving into the deep end without a life jacket. And um, the effects that it's had on my mental state of mind, I still feel that I have brain damage from alcohol consumption. I really do. I have a
wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, I have a pretty good memory. I've got any friend that you would talk to of mine would ask me a question and I'm like, oh my God, remember that one time you did? They're like, what? I forgot all about it. I have a really good memory, but there are some things that I'd be like, I said that? I didn't say that, but
Right.
that could also be old age. So,
Well,
um, but,
the sober memory versus the not sober memory, I think are two different memories as well, because
see, and
how you remember something might be distorted some versus how something really happened. Um,
well,
and
here's another thing for you real quick. If you know, I'm sorry to interrupt.
no,
But another question that I had been asked by one of my therapists was, what motivates you to no longer drink? I told her pictures, pictures that I'd taken with my kids, pictures that especially with my grandchildren, um, because every picture that I look at, I know whether or not I was drinking.
right,
And my daughter, she was very receptive. She knew. But my granddaughters, they didn't know. And so when I look at a picture of me and the girls, and I know that I had been drinking that day, I get so angry at myself because that is a memory for them.
right.
And it's a happy, fun, we're with grandma memory. And for me, I robbed them of that memory. That was not, that wasn't grandma. So pictures motivate me.
Yeah.
And
That,
I
that
hate looking at pictures where I knew that I had drank. I hate it, but I won't ever delete them
well,
or
they're
throw
a
them
good
away.
they're a good reminder too of why you're on this journey. You know, it's a great reminder of why you're on this journey and how you can continue on this journey. And how you can help others on that journey. Let's do the next question. Dear Margaret, I've been sober just over a year and people think I've made it, but I still wrestle with shame from my past. It shows up when I'm trying to date, apply for jobs, or even celebrate milestones. How did you learn to forgive yourself and stop living like you're still proving something to everyone? Signed, not trying to prove myself.
Well, sign not trying to prove myself. Another thing that I was taught in therapy is that when a person chooses to eliminate their substance of choice from their life, you must, oh, I shouldn't say must. I have to be very careful how I speak. It is suggested and advised to take a year off from any relationship and focus on yourself. It shouldn't matter about your past if you're trying to date someone, because that year that you take off for yourself, you will evolve, you will grow, and you will see things so differently a year later. So I say space and grace.
Yeah, I think space and grace is one of the it can be also misused, as an excuse out of things, but I think you have to take that time to reflect, but you also have to take that time to build on yourself. Build
Mm-hmm.
up those things that make you stronger and those things that can make you strive for more, strive for better. And unfortunately, if you start dating or getting into a relationship, I mean, if you're already in one, you want to try to save that, that's a different story. But if you're not in one and you're
Right.
trying to get into one and that person doesn't understand sobriety, and it's one of my questions that I have coming down the road. Um, but if they don't quite understand the struggle you've been through, they won't necessarily understand why drinking's such a big deal. Like
Mm-hmm.
why is it such a big deal? Like you seem fine. you know,
Yeah.
and as much as I want to say it doesn't exist today, but it or at our ages, peer pressure lasts a lifetime. There's a lifetime of people saying, "Oh, you can just have one. I'll watch you. I'll make sure you don't have another one."
Yeah, well, one is too many.
Right, exactly, and and
So
how
no, I
and
can't have.
how
I
and
don't want one.
right, and how am I
Even
gonna
better.
have in my head that, "So you're gonna watch me 24 hours a day?" Because
Yeah.
after I leave here and you coaxed me into that one. And so I think sometimes new relationships are not the healthiest for somebody new on a journey of, finding themselves and finding their sobriety. I don't We have one last one. We'll get to the last one and then we'll continue with the rest of our show. Um
Okie dokie.
so this one is, Dear Margaret, I've tried quitting before. Sometimes I even make it a few weeks, but the cravings always come back stronger than ever. I'm scared of who I am without alcohol. And honestly, I don't know if I'm strong enough to face everything it's helped me to numb. How do I even start to believe that sobriety won't break me? Oh, wow, that's a good one. Still
Well,
tossing
first
them,
of all,
and the
if
signature on
oh,
this
I'm
one
sorry.
was still tossing them back.
Well, first of all, if you are so afraid of what it's going to be like to wait, okay, so go. There was a couple of comments there, and now I lost track. She said that she was afraid to be
Uh,
sober. Wait,
yeah, I'll read it one more time just because I think it actually is a really good one because of what it really says. Because I think there's probably a lot of people that are new to realizing that they have a problem or new to addiction And I think we lost Donna for a second. Well, hopefully she'll come right back. There she is. She's back. Okay,
I'm still here.
you're
You're
still there.
not.
um,
Oh, there
well,
you are. Okay.
sometimes people have a different path that they have to take, and for some, this is one of those. Probably everyone has gone through one of these struggles if they've gone through addiction. I've tried quitting before. Sometimes I even make it a few weeks, but the cravings always come back and stronger than ever. I'm scared of who I am without alcohol. So you gotta wonder, is she
Okay.
like
That's
the life of the party type of person? And honestly, I don't know if I'm strong enough to face everything it's helped me to numb. So obviously there's some emotional things that she uses the drinking to hide. And I don't know if this is a male or female, but how do I even start to believe that sobriety won't break me?
well, why not believe it?
Right.
Why not? And if you are afraid, well, would it? Are you afraid to try?
Well,
Are you afraid to
and
win?
yeah, and I wanna answer that last part. How do I even start to believe that sobriety won't break you? And when you think about it from a different aspect, it will break you.
Yeah.
Sobriety will break you. It'll break you out of bad
For the
habits.
better.
It'll break you
Yes.
it'll break you out of using it as a numbing solution. It will break you out of a control. It'll break you out of
It'll
chains.
break you out of the cycle
It'll break
because it's a
from a
vicious cycle.
cycle. Exactly. So yeah, the answer to that is, how do I even start to believe that sobriety won't break you? It will break you. It will break all the things down that you really needed to break down, and then you can build back up. That's the most important part.
Yeah. I think if somebody is motivated enough to write a Dear Margaret column or submit their question, there is a part of their brain that recognizes their problem, and if they don't know where to turn, therapy can do wonders.
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily mean going into a program. You can start with that, but I don't feel that sometimes programs are based on an individual person's situation because it's done in group settings, unless, of course, it could be a one-on-one therapy session or, excuse me, program. Um, but all you got to do is try.
Well,
And you did try a couple of times, and you said that you weren't successful. So think about what it was that made you take that drink again.
right.
What was that trigger?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
People,
say.
places, and things are triggers. People, places, and things.
Mhm.
So you have to ask yourself. Another one is halt. Hungry, alone, lonely, tired. You bored? You have nothing else better to do? Grab a bottle of wine. Had a bad day at work? Have a beer. Again, like I said with food, sometimes alcohol is factored in as a celebratory thing. It also helps us to forget, and it also damages our
Excuse me.
liver and relationships and lands you in jail and you make stupid decisions, tears families apart, kills people, kills yourself.
Now,
So
do you believe somebody who drinks alone is an alcoholic, just in the aspect of
I drink
alone
alone.
drink? I've heard that many times, that if you're drinking alone. Now I know your drinking alone journey started in a closet. So
Literally a closet drinker. Yes.
literally. So I think that's an extreme there. But there's quite a few
Well, see,
people that
but to even have to make that rule and follow it, well, if I drink alone, I'm not okay. Well, if you're even asking yourself that, is there a problem?
right.
I mean, there are some people who are I mean, I've been around it all my life where a man, runs a warehouse all day and he's just dealing with stuff and just wants to have a cold beer on the way home.
Right, right.
Harm in that, but it's illegal to drink and drive.
Yeah.
So,
And is he really stopping at that bar and having just one? Or does he stop at that
yeah.
bar
Or
and
just
have
stop at 7-Eleven and grab a
or
tall
grab a
can,
six-pack? And is his one drinking that whole six-pack or 12-pack? Recognize this hat?
Actually, your side of the screen is frozen, so
Oh,
I
great.
you don't have a hat on in the picture that I see.
Not yet.
Oh, wait. Are you showing me something?
Am I not on your screen? Is it?
You're frozen.
Oh, you might have to refresh your screen. I don't know.
I'm not touching it.
Yeah. Hey, at least I can hear you and they can see me. So I'm frozen on your side, but as long as you can still hear me, it's okay. That was Kristen's Kentucky Derby hat, by the way.
Aww.
That's
so nice.
Well, I mean, I've heard that saying before, many times. I mean, even when I was a kid, that if they drink alone, that's an alcoholic. And that's not necessarily true, because some people can just go home and say, I've had a long day, and have a beer and then go eat their dinner and watch TV and go to bed. But I think that if it's a habitual thing, then you might have to look at that part of it. I know when I was a kid, I heard things like anyone who drinks beers or has a beer every day is an alcoholic. And
misconception.
And that is a misconception. And I mean, I took it to the extreme because I was in school and I was being influenced by the powers that be that tell me that if anyone drinks every single day, they're an alcoholic. And I noticed that my dad had a beer at the end of the day. Pretty much every single day, at the end of the day, my dad would have a beer, and whoever was still in the shop,
don't understand why.
And whoever was in the shop, he'd pop a beer with them. I was a beer runner quite often, and I would go grab the beers for them and open them because I thought it was fun. And then being influenced at school that this is a sign of alcoholism. So Donna knows my dad was a race car driver, and we would load up the truck and trailer and go to the races. And my dad never paid for beer. My dad was usually the one who supplied the beer at the races because he had a deal with Budweiser distribution center right down the street there on Shop Street. And they had a deal that if their trucks broke down wherever they were, my dad got whatever was in it, and he did the repair work for free. So there was times, and you remember that distribution center, that was a big old place. And so there was times that it broke down right after leaving the warehouse. And so my dad would get an entire truckload of sodas and beers and stuff like that, and he would just put them in the storeroom. So when we went to races, he would load up the trailer with all the beer and sodas and stuff like that, but all the beer,
and we would take them. He's the hero twice.
Oh yeah, exactly. And now the thing is sometimes they broke down after all their deliveries are halfway through or 3/4 of the way through, so there wasn't much left in there. But that was the deal. He had the same deal with the meat packing plant that was at the end of that road too. And so we always had tons of meat. But we went to the races one time, and I took that because it was right at the time that my teachers were teaching us that anybody who drank, especially if they had a beer every day, is an alcoholic. So I went and I hammered a nail in the bottom of every beer can that was in the truck. And by the time we got to the event that we were going to, all the beers were empty, and of course they sprayed every time, I popped one. And they all had their tops on. Now I didn't get to all of them because there was a lot of them, but I got a big chunk of the stack there. And there's beer that sprayed all over inside the container where we opened it up. And my dad got in there, and all these beer cans are empty, and all of them have a hole at the bottom. And
But they don't look like they were popped open, right?
nope, they
So
were
he
not
couldn't say
popped open. I
drink it.
just and they don't flow out quickly when you just pop the
There's
bottom,
no air.
because you
Yeah.
didn't open, but it just seeped all out, and so beer was everywhere, and my dad was so pissed. But
No, beer.
I got out of it because I told him that my teacher told me anyone who drinks every single day is an alcoholic. And I said, "And Dad, you have a beer every day." And he said, "Honey, I have one beer. I don't ever drink more than, at the most, I will drink maybe 2 or 3 beers at the very, very most. And it's rare that I drink more than 2 beers ever." And he's like, "Have you ever seen me drunk?" And I'm like, "Actually, no, I've never seen you drunk. So I don't really know what that part's like." And then now we come from an era too that my dad driving down the road, going to a race or going anywhere, driving to San Francisco from Tahoe, uh, you know, I would hand him a beer and he'd pop a beer open while driving because it was the
Times
70s.
were so different then.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
so different then. Um, so I think that was a big lead into why there's such a high number of alcoholics from our own generation, is because we came from a generation that went from drinking and driving was you could pop a beer and literally be drinking while you were driving down the road. And even if you got pulled over by the police for a speeding ticket or something, they would never even cite you or
They
charge you with the beer
yeah,
in your
they
hand.
would take you home or, have you call a friend and,
Right, right.
yeah.
Exactly. So there's
Yeah.
a lot to that. Okay, so I'm going to get back to part of the other stuff. Um,
Mhm.
so this wonderful judge that you went and had to stand before, and not to have any confusion, but you did request for the release. You had gone to your
Well,
attorney and asked, "Is there any way I
correct.
could go and see before the judge and ask for early release from my probation?" And that was
Correct.
all you
So I
requested, though, correct?
yeah. So I called my attorney and said, I'm ready and I want to be put on the calendar. And they said, okay, in your favor, if you have anything that you would like to provide the judge that can help back up your request, please submit. And she had a lot to look at.
Well, and
and
you wrote a very nice letter, to the judge, and it was a very touching letter that you wrote. Well, I mean, you wrote it to your honor, but you sent it to your attorney, and they presented that within their case when they presented to the judge. But the important part is you didn't ask for your sentence to be reduced, and the judge
yeah,
recognized
so
your
let me,
growth through
yeah, so
everything that was
let me,
submitted.
oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. All I said is the judge recognized your growth and everything that you had done based on what was presented by you and your attorney.
Hmm. So, I was put on the calendar. I went in front of a judge that I hadn't seen before. I'm new to the area. So, anyways, I get called up and she starts talking lawyer mumbo jumbo. Okay, defendant is requesting blah 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 17.53A and 17.53B. And does the state have any objection? And the district attorney said no. And then she says, well, the state does, or excuse me, the court does. And I'm like
And
looking
you're
down,
like, "Oh my
like,
god, no."
yeah. And she goes, I don't think she's ready. I don't think she has done enough time. So at this time, the court is going to reject that request. And then she looked like in my eyes and said, not to, she goes, I commend you for all the hard work that you've done and congratulations. And you should be very proud of yourself. She goes, so I am going to go ahead and terminate your probation today. And so now I'm really confused because literally 20 seconds ago, she was saying she's not
She's
ready
not
yet. I think
ready.
she needs to have more time. Tell her to come back in a year. And I'm like, okay. And so then she said there were some forms that needed to be filled out. And I don't keep my mouth closed when I should. I said, I'm sorry, I don't understand. And she goes, don't address the court. Talk to your attorney. Your attorney will explain everything to you. I'm like, okay. And she's like, okay, Miss Wilson, congratulations on your sobriety. You've done an amazing job. Best of luck to you, and come back and see me in a year. Now, I'm really confused because why am I coming back in a year?
Right.
I don't, and so I walked out and I sat down on the bench in the hallway for the last time. Well, no, I have one more time because I'm going back.
Right.
And I'm looking at my attorney and I said, what? I'm confused. What was it that she was denying? And he goes, your expungement. I said, my expungement. I'm sorry, the sun's in my eyes. I said, I wasn't asking to have, I'm not ready. It's too soon. I would never come to the court and ask to have this case. That would be greedy. And no, and he goes, well, that's okay because you got the two other things that you asked for.
And
And I'm
you were
like, I
wait a
asked
minute,
for,
I only asked for
I asked
early
for
release.
one. Yes. And he goes, oh, well, he goes, obviously our office did for you. Um, she also moved you from a felony to a misdemeanor.
Which is
And
unheard of and without
I
asking.
I started to cry,
Yeah.
and people are walking by, and I'm like, are you serious? You're telling me not only is she terminating my probation, but I, I said, I looked at him. See, I'm getting emotional now. I looked at him. I said, see, this is what happens. Get your shit together, and good things happen.
Well,
Try hard enough.
question, what do you think the judge
And
saw in you that made her believe in your redemption?
he saw me. He saw me. That's who I am. I regret everything that I did that hurt people. I took up time. I cost people money. And to also be told, come back in a year and she will expunge my record.
That's amazing.
She said, she goes, when she further explained, she goes, I just don't think you're ready. She needs to have more time under her belt. So let's make sure that there are no more incidences. And then, Miss Wilson, you come back and see me in a year. So yeah.
So many people feel trapped in this system though. What do you want to say to those who feel like they're never gonna get a second chance?
Man, you got to be hungry. You got to want it.
You gotta want that second
And
chance.
it means more. It means more if you want it for you and not because you're wanting it for someone else to like you or love you. You need to do it for the right reasons. Got to do it for yourself first.
Yeah.
And the analogy that I've been using since I really started to dive into the psychological aspects of a lot of things, um, the analogy that I like to describe to people, and it's more relatable, is like when you're on the airplane and there's a problem and the air masks come down and you're with a child. What are we as adults instructed to do?
Yeah, put it on yourself first.
Cover
Take
us
care of
first.
yourself first.
How can you take care of other people until you take care of yourself?
Mhm.
and I wasn't taking care of myself.
Yeah. Well, that's a
And
good
now
lead.
that
No, go ahead.
now that I am choosing to be single because I'm still working on me.
Right.
Um, it it's it's hard at times because I still am groomed to feel like I have the person that I was supposed to be with. Well, I don't know if I should even be saying supposed to be with, because if I was supposed to be with, we'd still be together. But
Right.
the person I thought that I was going to be with, um, this is, it makes me sad. But, we went to Disneyland not too long ago, and one of my greatest dreams was to everybody all go together. So that's hard, but I'm just a better person.
Right.
I'm a better person, and sometimes I continue to amaze myself. I have a lot of victories, a lot of small victories, and the the first emotion that I always feel when something is given to me, and I don't just mean handed over, because I do work hard, but I I still sometimes feel undeserving. That's something that I'm working on.
Right. That's something you
This
definitely need to work on because you are most definitely well deserving. And by the way, uh, Squirrel says, "So very proud of you, Donna." That's Steve, of course. Um, I have a few more questions for you. Sobriety and staying strong. 1,000 days sober is an incredible milestone. What has been the biggest challenge in staying sober in one quick sentence?
um, being able to have a drink is a privilege that I took advantage of, and I don't deserve it. And what I mean by that is just like your license. When you abuse your driving privileges, it gets taken away.
Right.
So I abused alcohol. And like I had said earlier about it being celebratory, I always have to think ahead. So, say, for example, if I'm going to a wedding and there's going to be a champagne toast, well, if I want to have that champagne toast, I could. So, will there be a time that I will test the waters? Will it be a special occasion? I don't know. So, my biggest challenge, and I know you said one sentence, but that's a funny joke. Um, my biggest challenge is, you know, they say, never say never. I'm never gonna drink again. Hey, I might not never. It amazes me when someone says I have 45 years. And I'm like, well, shit, you make it look so easy. It does get easier with time. But I think to myself, you know what? I I would love to go to Mexico and have some like authentic fajitas, and I love mango margaritas. And so, will I take that chance someday if I go to Mexico? Now that I'm no longer a felonist, I can travel out the country and own a passport, which that's another story. But, if I wanted a mango margarita, am I strong enough to have just one? Do I trust myself to have just one? I don't know. But I do know that they also make them virgin. So I still get what I want.
And
It just
honestly, they
doesn't have
taste the same. They really do.
really.
What
Except,
Go ahead.
oh, I said, I'm not putting poison in my body.
Exactly, exactly.
Good to
Uh,
me.
what advice would you give to someone who's listening right now who feels like they just can't stop drinking or using?
Well, first of all, if you feel that you can't stop, but you recognize the issue, try something simple by just going to a therapist. Start with that, because the therapist isn't going to judge you. Therapist, like the layers of an onion, you have to peel them to get to the root of
Right.
why you're drinking. And that's the best way, in my opinion, I to start with
It's
therapy.
definitely
And
layers.
I now you just made me think of something. I've never asked for help. Like
Yeah.
if I struggled, I never had the courage to call anybody and say, well, wait, no. I did actually. I called you.
You've called me.
I called you.
Uh-huh.
And just the story was I wanted to make beer battered fish, which required beer.
Yep.
And I struggled. I had a can of Budweiser beer in the grocery basket, and I almost felt ashamed and scared and intimidated and guilty. And I'm like, the beer. So I'm looking up all these recipes on, well, what can I use besides beer? But there's this recipe that we used to make beer battered fish and chips, and it was amazing. And I was craving that so bad. So, I tested myself. I still feel guilty, but as far as like calling out for help, I never called anybody when I'm said, I'm sitting outside the bar. I want to go in and drink. I don't want to be
Right.
talked out of it.
Well, at the same time, though, like, there was a time when you said, I might want to drink. This same thing you just now said. And I just sat and listened. And I said, okay, well, if you get to that point, make sure you're with me. That way I'm there for you and I can make sure that you're safe and all that stuff. And I said, what makes you feel that way? And we just talked. And it was so awesome because we just talked and talked. And by the end of our conversation, you talked yourself out of it and you said, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't need
it's
to have
like,
a drink. And I think
okay,
that's a big
that
part of
that
it
was
is a
Mhm.
big part of it is just talking to someone. And hopefully you have a close enough friend or family that would be willing to talk to you because and I remember that conversation so clearly. At the end of the conversation, you were like, "Thank you." And I said, "For what?" And you said, "Thank you for not judging me and not saying, 'Donna, you cannot drink.'" Um, 'Cause I didn't go into the you pointing finger thing. I just listened to you and I talked through, like, the scenario. Where do you think we would be? What do you think we would be doing? And, do you think that you can handle that? And I I asked you questions that made you think it through, and by the end of the conversation, you're like, "What am I talking about? Haven't done all this work so that I could throw it away for one drink. I
I
can have
know.
a
And
virgin," and you went to the same exact thing. I can just have a virgin. and it is true that you can talk, and I think that's a big part of it is continuing the conversation, even if it's just with yourself. But that goes to my next question. People often assume that sobriety is just about quitting the substance, but it's about so much more. What parts of yourself did you have to heal beyond just the stopping drinking? And I know that's still a work in progress as we all are.
yeah, yeah. Um, the the biggest thing that I need to heal is relationships.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
what was the biggest thing you had to heal with yourself to actually stop drinking? I mean, and I think that's a convoluted question because that's a question that really is ongoing. It's not one thing that you can heal this one thing and then you'll just stop drinking and it'll all be good. It's a continuous cycle of healing, a continuous cycle of reflection and accountability and recognizing what triggers are, what things that lead to that, how you feel about yourself. I think it's the same very similar question is for somebody who eats their feelings, someone who eats to deal with how they're feeling about things. So I think that's a very it's not just one thing that you have to heal to stop drinking, and stopping drinking is not just quitting the substance. You have to find out what drove you to the substance, not just, I'm just not going to drink anymore. Because I would say the person who can just say, I'm just not going to drink anymore, and they decide that day, I'm not drinking anymore, they put it aside and say, I'm just not having another drink, they might recognize after that factor that there were things that were questionable. But anyone who can just drop cold turkey and never have another drink again without any work going into it, is probably unheard of. I mean, I really don't think that's
Yeah, I think that unless, as they say, tools in the toolbox,
right.
unless you set yourself up for success, chances are you won't be as successful until you figure out what was going on internally
Right.
and why. I mean, we choose to do those things because we wanted to escape, to forget
Yeah.
about our feelings. And once that cloud is lifted and we're forced to deal with things, the thought of having to deal with it can be more scarier than actually dealing with it. And in the mind of a drunk, that's not logic.
Right.
A sober person understands that.
Right. Very much so. So now moving forward and new beginnings, now that your past is behind you, and every day our past is behind us, because every day is a work towards the future. So every single day the past is behind you. What dreams and goals are you chasing for your future?
I don't want to give too much away. They always say never divulge everything you're going to do, but I have a big mouth. So, um,
Well, just say what one thing that you dream of, and that is a
oh,
goal that
girl,
you're working
my
towards.
my birth certificate is on the way so I can get my passport
I
because
know, like
I'm leaving.
we are planning on taking a trip, so we're super excited about that.
Everybody please.
But I will say that, if I can interject here, um,
Mhm.
n having some past, because since we're friends and it's not just I'm interviewing somebody I don't know, one of the dreams and goals that Donna had is she wanted to get a Mustang convertible. That's why on the screen is the Mustang, and, she qualified, she got it, she literally ordered it, and it was delivered, and, I teased her a lot about it, but,
Want me
she
to take
got
it back?
but she got it, and it is now a big staple for your success, in my opinion. Every time I see that car, I think how successful you have gotten and what you have worked towards, and it's nothing but inspiring. It really is.
There was there was a part in my original probation terms that said I wasn't even allowed to own a car.
Right.
I have 3. I have 3.
But the
Full
but
coverage
the
insurance
but
and
the
fully
beautiful thing
licensed.
is,
So who would ever hear
and
about that?
I will say the beautiful thing is, we've talked about this before, is, um, you weren't allowed to go to the state and out of the state of California without permission, and, the things
I
that
couldn't
were
vote.
yeah, the things that were put on you by the court, you did not go behind the back and do.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact. She came out here to Alabama once, and we had to get pre-approval from her probation officer, and she had to get a letter to be allowed to fly, and she had to turn that letter back in when she got back so that she couldn't misuse it and get another and be allowed to fly again. Um, and the reason she has to carry that letter is because if she got pulled over somewhere, it would show that she's on probation and no longer, but in probation in California, and that she's not authorized. So she would have to have that letter with her, even if we got pulled over in the car. And
Yeah.
I know having the feeling that you don't have to do that anymore has got to be incredible. So if you could
Yeah.
say one thing to the people who doubted you, what would it be?
Your fuel is my fire. or
Yeah.
your fire is my fuel.
It makes me think of that Toby Keith
Keep
song, "How Do
hating
You Like Me Now?"
because you know, I sound really cocky when I just said that, keep hating, but nah, for anyone who doubted or removed themselves from my life, thank you.
Yeah,
I mean, I, I'm sorry that I am no longer able to fulfill a part of the chapter in your life. I was removed from yours because you needed to do that to protect your peace. Um, but I'm doing exactly what you had fought for.
right.
So thank you. Thank
Okay,
you.
equally so, and if you could say one thing to the people who never gave up on you, what would that be?
I love you all so much for not giving up on me. When I didn't have faith in myself, my friends did. And they've always, especially Dory, my boss, the people who knew me for a very long time, always stood by my side. Didn't agree with what I was doing, but being on the side that we were when we were trying to save Kristen, I walked in their shoes by
Right.
trying to help her. And so I was very conflicted because do I choose to cut my back off of Kristen and let her figure it out on her own? Or do I continue to try to help?
We lost her there for a second. She'll be back. Give it a second. Here she is. Alright.
Her end is I can't force her. She's got to have to figure it out on herself. And that's the survivor's guilt that I have because it
Right.
didn't work.
Right, right. Oh, and
So
I feel it every single day. I feel it every single day. Um, so for some people listening right now that might be in the middle of their own rock bottom, what's a message that you wanna leave that with them today? And for me, I'm gonna say, look in the mirror, and if you feel like you don't like the person that you see looking back at you, take one step forward.
that's exactly what I would have said. It starts with us. And
You have to want it.
you have to want it. You have to recognize, you have to also accept that there's an issue. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to seek it on yourself, even if you don't tell anybody.
Right, right.
I I would probably also suggest maybe tell one person just so you have a little bit of a coach.
A
Find
little
that
bit of
one person.
accountability, yeah.
Exactly. Because if you were supposed to go to a therapy appointment at 4 o'clock and you're the only one that knows about it, and if you don't go, the only person you're hurting is yourself.
Right.
But if you've got somebody by your side that is aware that you're going, that's just a little bit of a safety net. So if somebody is struggling and they just don't know where to start with yourself. If you recognize there's a problem, well,
And and
eliminate.
a and I would jump in there also and say, if you're not ready to go to counseling and stuff, believe it or not, there's an awful lot of YouTube channels that talk about addiction and support, and you can find fellowship within a community of people. Be careful where you go because some of them are dangerous and some of them are grifters, but at the same time, go to the ones that have lived it. Listen to stories like Donna's. It's a success story of where she has gone and where she has come and what she has done successfully. And that leaves me to this question for you, Donna. If you could sum up your 1,000-day journey in one sentence, what would it be?
Time flies. Every day it does get easier and easier. And I keep myself motivated. I wasn't really a day counter, but every once in a while I would just pop up and say, "Oh, where am I at today?" And then when I started to see those numbers grow and grow, and like, "Wow, that's pretty cool," because I'll tell you, there was a time where day one was nearly impossible. And every time I would quit for a couple of days. And then guess what? I was back at day one. I was tired of going back to day one. I don't want to see one unless it's in front of three other numbers, four,
Yeah.
five, you know? So, yeah,
Well,
that's,
now,
um,
I'm gonna touch on one touchy subject right here. Um, and Donna has shared her growth, but the and taken her accountability, and she expressed her love for her family and the family that she loves to spend time with, her grandchildren and stuff. But Donna, you've also not had connection with your daughter in a long time, 6 years. Um, if your daughter was listening right now, what is the first thing you'd want her to know? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cry.
you see that? She made that for me. Um, I can't answer that question because you said one thing. There are many things I want her to know.
Well,
But
what
most
would you say would
importantly,
be the most important thing you would want her to
um,
know?
it, well, trust me, I have rehearsed this so many times. I wish I could have 5 minutes of her time. I want to feel her pain. I want to know how I made her feel. I want her to know that the mother that she deserves is here. I also have to respect her enough to give her her space. And I'm here when she's ready. And it's the hardest thing ever to do because I've been thinking about this for so long. She was 17 when this all happened. And I was just thinking to myself not too long ago, in my mind, she's still 17 because
Right.
I haven't had a relationship with her.
You haven't been able to witness her growing up to become that 20-year-old and the 21-year-old and the 23-year-old, and it
Yes, and she didn't deserve any of that. She didn't deserve to be treated the way I treated her.
now I know you still hold on to hope that you can see her again, and if she's listening but still unsure, what small first step would you wanna take with her? A letter, a call, a meeting with a counselor? What feels right to you?
I would have to leave that up to her, whatever she's comfortable with, and it could just start with meeting at Starbucks.
Right.
It can start with a phone call. You don't
It could start
know.
with a simple letter. I know one of the things that you do have to do is you have to request through the courts, to remove the no contact, which I think would be in the form of a letter to the court to her that they would give to her, and it would be up to her whether she opens it or whether or not she agrees to even have the no contact removed. But it would have to be her call for that. What is the biggest hope for your relationship moving forward? Should she be willing to even read a letter from you?
I feel that she needs me. I feel she's lost. I think she feels probably abandoned, neglected.
Well, you touched on this earlier, and I had it written down too, which is how in sync we are. Sometimes children of addicts carry their own pain and guilt and even anger. And you just said this. So, you want to feel her anger. That means you want her to be willing to tell you how it made her feel. So, if you could promise your daughter one thing today, what would it be?
My sobriety. I'm doing it for myself with her as the goal because I want my daughter back.
Well, you've already overcome so much,
I can
but
give her
if she does give you a chance to reconnect, what would that mean to you?
the world.
And this is the last question to end this little part of it, 'cause it does hit a very, very touchy section here of our hearts. If there's one memory you hold on to that reminds you of how much you love her, what is that memory?
I have so many. I hate being asked what's that one thing because
Right.
everything is so important to me. I hold on to memories. I cherish things. And so there's anything. Do you know what I found in my junk drawer a couple weeks ago? I found a charger phone block for your phone, your cell phone.
Uh-huh.
It it was hers because she had used fingernail polish and put her initial on it. And I never even knew I had it. So anything that I have that she has done for me, given to me, drawn for me, sung for me, videos, hours. I have hours of videos of her playing cello. Everything I have of hers is an absolute treasure to me.
So was her memory and keeping hold on to the hope that you could reconnect with her, has that been one of your biggest driving forces?
Yeah. She deserves to have a mom. She deserves to have a healthy mom, a good mom, caring mom, loving mom, supportive mom. I was those things. I just messed up when I drank.
Well, I would have to say that if she were watching and if she ever got the opportunity to watch this, just watching you and seeing your growth myself and what you have done to overcome it and how hard you work and how much you struggle to never give up. I mean, even on the bad days when you're having a hard time and you're having anything, you have never once said it or to yourself, nor have you done and gone and gotten drunk or drank anything to alleviate whatever you're going through. What I've seen you do is you talk it through. We'll call and have a long conversation, and I know on the days you wanna have a long conversation, there's something going on, and I never question. I don't think any of those times that you've called and we've just talked for a really long time, have I ever asked you, "Are you calling because you wanna drink?" Um, I just talked to you. I just talked to you, and I don't even know if that is a part of your thought process because I don't question it. We just talk through whatever it is that you're going through or I'm going through, we just talk it through, and,
Mhm.
I think that that is one of the biggest motivators that I have witnessed myself is your reconnection with your daughter and trying to mend the fences between the 2 of you, and part of that is you can't take back what has happened, but and I'm sure there's a part of her that's afraid to trust that the change is real, um,
Mhm.
and all I can say is, rather than asking you what would you say to reassure her, I'm gonna say what would I say to reassure her,
Okay.
and what I would say to reassure her that you can trust that the change is real is I've never seen anybody so motivated and dedicated to their future and hitting those milestones and getting your life back so that one, we can make a plan to go on a cruise and we can go places and do things without the words, well, I can't go there.
Yeah.
I think that that to me is the most important thing is I have never seen somebody so dedicated to making sure that every step you take is only an improvement on yesterday.
Uh, yeah. I have to look further than just in front of me. I got to look to the side. I got to look behind me. I got to look to that side. And I got to
Mhm.
look a step ahead of the step it's in taking me. I am very calculated in everything that I do.
Yes, she is.
I have to be, and it's the only way that I know how to survive. Um, you know, I just want to be the best version of me, and I think what I can offer my daughter is, well, her mom um, definitely would suggest that we go to therapy. Um, but I mean, just even a phone call, starting with a phone call first would be
Yeah,
great. You know, I'm
yeah.
sorry, the sun's in my face. What I'm afraid of, I just want to say this really quick. Um, what I'm afraid of is because she was so young when this started and ended. Um, what I'm afraid of is her feeling that I don't love her enough to try to have a relationship with her. Maybe she doesn't understand that because she's an adult now, she does have the ability to go in and modify
Yeah,
the no contact order. I don't know what her father tells her about me.
right,
My gut feeling is it's probably not favorable. Um, my gut feeling tells me that she might feel trapped
right,
because I was in a relationship that wasn't healthy and she's in that relationship with her father.
right.
And I is just my opinion. This is my gut, my mom intuition is that whatever was going on between her father and I am afraid it has spilled onto her.
Well, for anyone out there watching that's going through something like that, and if she's watching by chance, um,
I don't know.
especially once you get into that adult age and you're no longer a child, you can make decisions for yourself that, you don't have to do what you were told you had to do as a child.
Right.
You're an adult and you can make adult decisions now, and if that includes and is not limited to a letter, a text, a phone call, anything that can, um, allow to start the rebuilding process with mom. I know that not that long ago, you saw her in a car and you called me right afterwards because it rocked you. Because you knew you
I
couldn't
didn't.
approach, you couldn't make anything, and you had followed that to a T because most people on
I've
this
actually seen
planet.
her twice.
You've seen her, yeah, you told me you've seen her a couple times, but the recent one was, and it was really hard for you, and most of us out there would make a point for them to see us and, you know, whereas you didn't because you didn't wanna take and you have done so many things to not take that risk that you would be, um you would destroy the possibility.
It would have, and it would have violated my probation.
Right, and that was your goal. Your goal was to get off probation and to get this and I think now that you're off probation, now is the time that you could start, even if it were just a letter to the court requesting you to be allowed to send her a letter and see what the court has to say, for that to start with. Well, our time is up, Donna. What's the last thing you wanna say to everyone out there and including if your daughter and if your son's watching too, or anyone else, Um, what would you like to say as before we go?
Life is too short to not do the things that make us happy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our time, I sound like a Facebook meme. Our time is limited,
Yeah.
and we need to value every minute we have. And if there are people who are special in our lives, losing touch is something that I don't want to do. This
Well,
isn't how I pictured living. This
well,
isn't
and
how.
I agree with you. I mean, like now for me, I'm going to say life is too short for regret. You have to take the challenges, the struggles that you have, and you have to look in the mirror and realize that you're worth it. You're worth saving yourself. You're worth fighting for. You're worth more than you probably think you're worth.
Yeah. And sometimes we test our own strength. When a person feels that they're not strong and they come out, then it's like, wow, stronger than I thought.
Yeah,
And then I think to myself, no, I had the strength all along. I just didn't realize it.
right. And it was misdirected at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I just want to say from my heart that I'm so proud of you. I know Steve said he's so so happy for everything Donna has been able to accomplish, and I am so proud of you. I couldn't be more proud of somebody. And the thing is, like when I say you're inspiring, you are inspiring because I may not have that issue that I deal with, but I have my own other issues that I deal with. And when I can see somebody that has overcome so much and has built so much on striving forward every day, every day, every day. And if you don't stop with the cats, you're going to have 1,000 cats too to go with your 1,000 days. Just
They're gonna drive me to think about drinking.
uh,
No, and then I'll be too under the influence and I'll see double the amount. So help
oh,
me,
yeah, you
please.
don't need
Somebody.
that, you got enough, um, but stop with the cats already, okay? Can I just say that
Yeah.
as a friend? Stop with the cats, although you don't have
See,
a mouse problem,
I
that's
hear
for
I
sure.
hear Judge Judy in my mind saying ignorance is no excuse. I rescued a cat, brought her here, never saw any other cats in my area. Boom. She found someone, knocked her up. Had seven babies. I ended up keeping five. I've been a cat owner all my life, but they were always fixed. I wasn't able to get the cat I rescued fixed quick enough. And then she had babies. And then again, not being experienced in having kittens because all my cats were fixed. I also didn't know that siblings can procreate. I didn't know. And so the one male,
I'm dying here saying,
it's
"How
a
does
Maury
this"
Povich situation over here because
It
it's like he's the
totally
baby
is. You're
daddy.
the father.
Yeah, so I had three cats that were all pregnant at the same time, including mom for the third time. I, I she gets you can't have a cat fixed while they're nursing,
Right.
and I can't.
They also
I
get
can't.
they also get knocked up again while they're nursing. The other thing I'm gonna say is when you replace an addiction with another addiction, it should not be cats.
I need a cat lady. No, but I will also say this on my last part of life is too short to not do the things you make you happy. I oh my god, it went in, went out. Damn it, I totally forgot. I totally
Well,
spaced.
cats make you
Oh,
happy. There you go.
okay. No, it had nothing to do with cats. That's probably why. No, every time I've had a setback where it could go on for like a day or two, and I'm struggling, and like, how do I fix this? This is a problem. I got to make a phone call. I got to write a letter. I got to do something. And then when that light at the end of the tunnel comes up and that issue is resolved, there are many times, and I think I've done it to you. I've done it to my boss. I've done it to Dory. I said, thank God I was sober for this,
Right.
because I couldn't handle it.
Right.
So I
Absolutely.
recognize events in my life that could have driven me to drink. Totally recognize.
Well, and dealing with them
And
sober, I think has a different outcome for sure. And it gives you a drive to fix the problem instead of just ignore the problem, because when we drink to eliminate a problem, the problem's still there because we didn't deal with it. No matter
exactly.
what it
You're just
is.
sprinkling that carpet, sprinkle stuff over your carpet. You're just masking the smell. You're not cleaning your
Yeah, the
carpet.
pee's still there.
You're not fixing
The
what's going
dog
on
piss
in
is still
here.
there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. House might smell good for about 10 minutes, and
Yeah,
you got all this white
exactly.
shit coming up in your vacuum cleaner. No,
Exactly.
no, no,
Well,
fix it.
I love you and thank you for coming on, and we'll work on improving quality of cameras and stuff as we go, but I really appreciate you taking the time to come on GurlTauX so that we could celebrate your accomplishment. Although the 1,000 days was yesterday, so technically you're at 1,001 days today. But again, I'm so proud of everything that you have done, and I'm so blessed to be your friend and to have
Yeah,
been able to go through this journey with
likewise.
you and watch you as you succeed. And I look forward to so many more successes to come and trips to come.
There will be.
And
There will be.
I will see you at Kristen's celebration of life is coming up in May, and I will be out there for that for one. But we have so many more positive things to look forward to. And for anyone watching that's going through that, look at what success looks like and where you can move yourself to by just taking one step in front of the other and deciding that you want more out of life than what you're currently getting. And when you have a day of success, turn to a week of success, turn to a month of success, turning to years of success, you will be able to look back at that and say, I'm so glad and so proud of myself for just taking that first step.
Yeah. And I couldn't do it without support. I mean, I had to do it for me, but to know that I had quite a few people that were very supportive, and let me just work it out,
Yeah.
get me back on track when I stumbled, but recognize that I knew the direction I needed to go. And one last thing, if I may have another just quick second.
Yep.
I've had a lot of people. I've been very transparent in my journey of sobriety. I was scared to even acknowledge it, especially like on Facebook. Um, Being embarrassed. I also have a profession that I want to protect. I don't. But then I realized I can't. I'm not going to hide behind who I am and what I have to offer. But in my short time of disclosing my struggles, whether it's a message or whatever, I've had people who I don't know reach out to me, and friendships that have been established because
Yeah.
of what I've gone through. It has inspired them. And that is a motivation in itself, because if I can just help one, that one person helps another who may
Right.
help two more people.
Right. And
That
it's a domino effect that, and that doesn't have to be a negative thing, I mean, positive things
right.
can come from a domino effect too. So, or a snowball effect, however you want to look at it. We're from Tahoe, so snowball effect. But if you could collect up the people and help inspire them to achieve these small goals to start with, but then you get to a point where you don't have to make small goals anymore. You're able to make bigger goals, and I see you do that and reach
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
Well,
and sometimes goals come with bonuses.
yep, absolutely, absolutely, 100%. Well, anyway, thank you
Put in
so
the work.
much. I I love you, and, we went over I mean, we didn't technically go over 2 hours because of the fact that, we had a difficult time getting you on to start with, so I'm counting that as as not part of the show. Um, so, I really appreciate you being here, and, again, I'll be here tomorrow from 7 to 8:30, and if you, can, like, subscribe, and follow, go to my channel, it's GurlTauX, GurlTauX, all on social media, all spelled the same way. I am live on Rumble and YouTube every day, Monday through Friday, and on my Facebook page. And I am going to probably be eliminating the Facebook page here soon, where it just goes to YouTube and Rumble. But please join me there and please subscribe. I'm on my way to 100 subscribers. So I like saying that because it's funny. Most people
Well,
are
you have
like,
a couple of zeros too.
well, most people are on, I'm on my way to 100,000. I'm on my way to a million. I'm on my way to 100 people. So just come on. I
One
need
subscriber
subscribers.
at a time, girlfriend. One
That's right.
subscriber.
That's right. Just like one day at a time. But I love you so
Yeah.
very much. I'm going to play our my going out. Thank you.
Okay. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for watching GurlTauX live broadcast, which airs weekdays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't forget to send in your Dear Margaret questions. Then join us for our opinion-based answers. We love having you. Thanks for taking the time to be with us tonight. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and share with your friends. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Good night. Good night.
Good night.